Watch how easy it is to transform your existing surfaces with our countertop kit using our black epoxy pigment and liquid gold effects. These kits can be installed over any hard surface. All our countertop kits come pre-measured for every step, lifetime warranties, and in-depth tutorials.
So the next step, guys, after mixing, it's very crucial to get the product out of the bucket as fast as you can. So for this particular kit, we're only doing one color, so we didn't need to separate the resin out and add two different colors. We just mixed up the kit and then added the one color, and then we're ready to go. So this is a very, very simple kit to mimic or recreate, even if it's your first time. So we got the product here, again, one color, so it's all our jet black. And I'm just gonna pour bead down the middle. I wanna try to get this even all the way down. So you'll notice we have a pretty even bead. I don't have a really skinny spot and then really wide. It's almost the same exact width once it's starting to level out. That's kind of what we're looking for, and then I'll just cross roll this and we'll have a pretty even surface. So after we get that base coat laid out and kind of make sure, again guys, get all up to your tape edge on the back, make sure the front's all pushed up to the tape, we're gonna be applying our gold effects. Now we're gonna be using a lot of these effects because you wanna get a lot of gold on here, and then I'm gonna be blending it in with the squeegee. So I'll probably dump it out in kind of a vein pattern, but again, we're gonna be using a lot of these. So, and again, this is 25 square feet. Counter kits are sold in 50 square feet increments, so whatever I use here, you would get double that for your kit. So what I'm gonna do is just squeeze it out, get my pattern, and then I'm gonna just start adding a lot to those areas. Next step, guys, once you get it all poured out, is blending it with the squeegee. You can also just use your hands, make sure you have a rubber glove on. But I like the squeegees because they create more veining, really tight veining, because it pushes that away and then it creates a little black spot as it fills back in. So I'm just gonna follow the design, right? I don't wanna just start going across. I wanna kind of keep these vein patterns. And so, again, we're just blending along. Because you'll see, even if I cover it with the black, that gold's still gonna wanna push up to the surface. Get a couple gold spots out in the open areas. Okay, so after blending this, the look that we're going for, guys, is these more concentrated areas. So I'm gonna add some spots in between here. You can always add more, you can't take it out. So if you wanna blend it a little bit, see where it's at, how much color, before you add it all, that's totally fine. And it's actually a good thing to do because, again, it's hard to take the color out. We could try to blend it into the black more, but it's a lot easier to add it than take it out. So I'm just hitting all these opened up spots. Last thing we're gonna do is spritz it with isopropyl. That's gonna create a lot of cells out here. If you guys don't want that, you would just mist it with denatured alcohol, because I'm gonna spritz it with isopropyl. I'm gonna wait 5-10 minutes, and then I'm gonna mist the surface with denatured alcohol. And then the last thing we have to do is pull the tape, and we're probably gonna wait anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on the temperatures that you guys have. But I'll show you what you're looking for when we're ready to pull that. So it's been about an hour 45. Again, it's cold in here. We're gonna take the tape off. You'll notice a couple blowout spots, because what happens when we do multiple epoxy pours on the same counter, about 2.5 inches back starts to taper off on that edge. So all the resin wants to push to this front edge and it builds up really high. So typically you won't be dealing with that when you're doing these kits on a flat surface. But again, we do multiple projects on this counter, so we eventually have to flood coat it, get it flat again. So we'll probably have to do that after this one. So if you do wind up running into any blowouts, we just take paint sticks, tape them up there just to add some more rigidity to those areas. So when you guys are getting ready to pull, you want that resin to set up a little bit, and you can kind of see it's not like fluid like it was, so it's starting to set up and get sticky. Another way is you can just test resin that's dripped off on the floor. We'll just get some on here so it's really sticky, it's dripping really slow. So that's about the time to pull it. If it's really fluid and runny, you want to give it a little bit longer. So I'm just going to pull this off. Again, it's going to be a little messy on this one because we had to brace it up so much. So you can see how much it's built up right here. It's just about from this far back, it's just flowing. It's really tapered, so it just flows to that edge. So what'll happen is once you pull that tape, it's gonna start flowing down. You can see it moving real slow. That's what we're looking for. So I'll let that kind of flow down. I'll come over here to the front. But notice it's just dragging that design from the top right to the face. Very, very cool. So the next thing we want to do is just get rid of any surface tension, any dry spots of primer. We want to make sure there's resin there. And don't worry about messing up your design. This is still going to flow over quite a bit. So we'll finish this up, let these edges get coated. And then last thing we're gonna do is scrape the bottom, minimize those drips. So when your edges are all done, right, like I said, we're gonna scrape it with like a putty knife that we don't have to sand the drips the next day. But it's always good to wait around, make sure your edges look good, even though it runs to the bottom and they look fine. It's always good to periodically come back and check them, because if you have maybe a spot that looks kind of like a run or a drip, you can address that while it's still fluid versus the next day when it's already set up. So you can typically take a paintbrush, brush any runs in while it's still fluid. The other thing is your outside edges. If you don't have enough resin there, what I always do is I'll just take some off the plastic on a paint stick, and then I'll just let it drip on the top here, just like this. And then that's gonna wind up dripping down and covering your edges as well.